this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Dennis Dressler, partner at Dressler and Peters. Thanks for joining me, Dennis.
My pleasure, Jesse. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and respect what you do.
Ah, well, thank you, sir. That means a lot. I know we've been trying to get you on the program for a while, so appreciate you giving us some time this afternoon and look forward to digging into a little bit more of your history and equipment finance. So,
Excellent.
I guess without further ado, I'm just going to have you kind of introduce yourself and your career in equipment finance, sir.
Sure. And I'm so glad that I've had the opportunity to be in equipment finance. When I went to law school, one of the things that I did not want to do is I did not want to do like the personal injury and divorce work. I just had in my mind that that was not something that would be agreeable with my mental framework and constitution. I've always enjoyed more of the business aspect. So equipment finance has worked out real well for me. A little bit about me: I started out at one of these megagopolis firms with offices everywhere, and one of my first projects was to liquidate a Home Depot type store with tens of thousands of equipment leases. So got involved into that. Maybe not tens of thousands, thousands.
Close enough. Close enough. Fine.
Thousands of
It's all
equipment leases. And anyway, that's what got me into the equipment financing world. I was like, I loved it. I loved the business aspect of it. I loved how you could formulate leverage based on need and use to deliver results to the client. So I started doing that, and essentially that's about all I've done for going on 29 years. So, and then about Ken and I, my partner Ken Peters and I, got together about 26 years ago, and then we worked with another firm for about 6 years together, and then Dressler and Peters was formed about 20 years ago. And so the firm does almost exclusively equipment finance work, and there's three legs to our stool, so to speak, in that we do litigation, bankruptcy, and transactional work, but all within the equipment finance industry. So there's never a day that goes by that is not something of unique interest to me and to my other lawyers and partners about the equipment financing world, whether it's we do a lot of aircraft, marine, vessel transactions, chattel paper sales, love it. Litigation, whether it's a small replevin case or multi-million dollar deals, and then on the bankruptcy, we handle those, and whether or not they're small cases or large cases, they're always have some level of interest to us. So we really enjoy doing what we do. And I think the equipment finance world is just great for a lawyer. There's always something, it's not unsecured debt usually. I tell my people, what do we do? Equipment financing. You always have to figure out the equipment issues because that's your security. And then how the equipment is secured, perfected, lien rights. I mean, there's always something going on that makes it of interest and entertaining.
Sure. No, thank you for that background. And then how many partners do you have, or how many attorneys do you have, employees?
There's 14 attorneys, and then the support staff. And I think I don't know what the exact number is today, but maybe like 22, 23 plus the outside consultants. And we have our headquarters, if you want to call it a headquarters, in Chicago. That's where we started. And then we have a Missouri office too, and that's where I primarily work out of if I'm not in Chicago. I grew up in Missouri, so with the world being kind of flat technology-wise, you can work almost anywhere as long as you work. And so we have a couple of different offices, physical offices, and then licensed in different places.
Perfect. So I want to dig into a couple things just on your background real quick, if you don't mind. So before my mind slips me, the chattel paper legal side of that. obviously a DocuSign with the original, the vaulting of those documents. What are the percentages of your clients that use like a vaulting service and the benefits from that? Is that
I
getting
would
more
say
traction, Dennis?
by today's day, most all of them.
Okay.
And and so when we draft contracts, and we've drafted a great deal of contracts for the industry, we include provisions about electronic and vaulting and whatnot. And when you do the chattel paper sales, you really have to get into it, papering out if you need to, or figuring those challenges out. And sometimes the chattel paper sales are pretty large. And sometimes they're not all in the same tranche. So you might get some from originator A with some from originator B, who then previously acquired it from originator C. So it can get quite difficult. And the vaulting really helps out with all those things.
I just remember when and selling software for years when it came out. It's like, oh, we just need the e-signature. We don't really want the vaulting piece of it because there wasn't a lot of I guess um what am I thinking here? Like casework in regards to, I guess, the legalities of some of that stuff. Have you seen more of that?
Not particularly in terms of the litigation involving it. What you do find, of course, is in particular deals, somebody will say that it's not my signature, so claims a forgery, and the e-sign becomes a great tool for narrowing down what are real fraudulent signature forgery kind of cases versus I just don't want to pay. On the e-volt side, we've not seen a lot of litigation involving that, luckily, because those are the kind of things that can get really difficult really quickly. So hopefully we won't see those, knock on wood.
Sure. Just more of a thought in my head, just
Mhm.
based on previous experiences in the space as well when it comes to that sort of technology. And then the other question I have is liquidating those thousands of assets from that Home Depot-ish store.
Mhm.
Um, Home Depot, that's not a shot at you, just more of a
It was a Home Depot type of
type.
company. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm using my words correctly here. Um, Looking at those assets and like the useful life of those assets, I'm sure that was very intriguing for you when you're sitting there like, wait a second, this one's business essential. This is like, eh. So you can kind of see now what type of when people come to you, it's like, what are you financing?
Yeah, it was tremendously good experience for a young attorney because it was just thrown at me. I had to learn the bankruptcy code to figure it out. And and that I primarily did commercial Chapter 11 bankruptcies for about the first 10 years of my life as a lawyer, and just fell in love with it. That's still my some of my favorite things is negotiating plan treatments in a complicated 11 case. It's both collaborative as well as battle all at the same time.
Sure, sure. Hopefully those are few and far between. There's a need for it for sure. So I'm gonna switch gears if you don't mind, Dennis, and talk about like
Certainly.
just the kind of the state of equipment finance. Here we're in October of 2025. How's the year playing itself out compared to where you saw things early in the year?
Well, I would say that unfortunately for the industry, there's more files on my desk on the litigation side than there has been, say, 12 months from now, and certainly more than 24 months from now. Um, and we saw the wave of the trucking companies pushing the bankruptcies to relatively all-time highs or comparatively all-time highs. So we've been extremely busy with the trucking bankruptcies. But I also see, that there's some factors that I'm seeing, and when my business clients call, bank clients, whatever, they ask me, what am I seeing? And I ask them, what are they seeing? And I would say that a lot of us are seeing a lot of uncertainty. And with respect to, some of the immigration stuff is now having an effect, as being reported by my clients. I'm seeing a lot of still a very strong bankruptcy practice. There's tons coming in. The inability to move real estate as well as you could or as fast as you could in years past has made settlements a little bit more difficult. At the same time, new money coming in to buy deals has um, it hasn't dried up, but it's coming from different sources than what I saw about 12, 24 months ago. So there's still, I perceive, a lot of liquidity out there in terms of people willing to fund, but the sources of those funds are different now, and that's a little bit more interesting. People are searching more for. I don't see as much grade D but edible kind of credits, right? I see a lot more deals in the A and B world than I've been seeing in the C and D world. Although, in the C and D world, they usually don't justify hiring an attorney to review the transactions anyway. But it does seem like there's a stretch for credit quality now.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting some of the new money that's coming in to the space. So I guess more common than I guess in the years. And
Mhm.
but like so if the files on your desk are bigger than they were 12 months ago, or definitely bigger than 24 months ago, that's probably just the reality of kind of what's been going on.
Yeah, where people are struggling and then they just file bankruptcy. That's one of the things. One of the things that's a little different is that some of the debt size on the deals where are a bit larger than they have been in years past. And normally the larger the debt, the higher the credit. You don't want to give a lot of money to somebody with bad credit. So that indicates to me that some of that weakness is throughout the entire credit stack, that even people with 8 credits are experiencing substantive kind of business disruption events that's causing them to have problems. Mhm.
And you've been through 26 years in equipment finance, so you've been through cycles before.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. This
it's just
is this is one of them for sure.
yeah. So I mean, it's not trying to be doom and gloom, people. Just kind of talking
Mhm.
about where things are at based on the last couple of years worth of activity, which all of us have seen. I've seen more people be more optimistic lately. I think still cautiously optimistic, but that's just what I've been reading from people, just in having conversations. So hopefully, well, hopefully for the industry, I'm not sure if it's hopefully for an attorney in 12 months from now, there's a little bit fewer, files on your desk.
For sure. And then I do a lot of transaction work with new deals. So I wouldn't mind if the economy changes a bit more, and so that there's more new volume coming in, because that's exciting stuff. When you put it together, program agreements, and we're working on a few now that are pretty noteworthy. And so that kind of stuff, there's uh, a little bit more optimism about that. One thing about being an attorney is that most of the time, it's the problem files that end up on your desk. On the transaction side, it's a little bit more optimistic. And I think the transactional world for the last 6 months was down or about the same, but I feel like it's picking up in probably the last couple of months with new projects, new assignments. My perspective is pretty limited because it's just what's on my desk. But the fact that we do work in all 50 states, we do transaction, bankruptcy, and litigation, and we've been doing it for 26 years. So, I do have a pulse on it, not a complete pulse or check on it, but it does seem like there is a resurgence of some of the transactional work.
Perfect. I mean, all positive, right? I mean, obviously you can't predict anything, but at least
Right? If there's no bad deals, you don't get to charge interest.
well, hopefully we're trending. Hopefully we're trending in the right direction now.
I hope so. I hope so. And then with the reshoring of the manufacturing capabilities in the U.S., I think that's going to continue to drive some of the vendor business. We've seen work on in some of that respect. So I think that's a really positive thing for the equipment finance industry because all of those reshoring manufacturing opportunities generally involve uh, equipment in some way or some form.
Sure. No. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see some of the further, I guess, economic impacts of that monster big beautiful bill and what it does to our industry.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is beyond me, but I have seen more of a resurgence in some of that manufacturing that people are attributing to just a general trend. Um, and whether it's related to immediate politics or not, I think that it's a trend that will probably continue is that the countries may have thought that it needs some more manufacturing base or a large
That
manufacturing base.
and hopefully that additional rise in work from there, you know, offsets kind of what 1071 and some of the state regulations would have.
Yeah, yeah. And we do a lot of regulatory work for the clients in the industry, and um, all that. I understand the legislatures, and I've been on Alpha and NEFAs as they prepare and talk to legislatures and whatnot. So I understand where the legislatures are coming from in terms of trying to protect constituents, but I don't know if that's the appropriate way to approach it. It does seem like it's driving up the transactional costs in the industry. And maybe there's some deliverable benefits that I'm not seeing. I don't take out equipment loans as an attorney. And so I've not seen, direct benefit to me. It'd be interesting to see, some scholarship in that regard in terms of, let's take California, New York, a period of what's the medium interest rate or the APR or the credit cost, total credit cost before and after those disclosures went into effect, give some sort of, you know, like not not maybe scientific, but at least some sort of objective
Yeah,
criteria
just
on
some
which you can
quantifiable
evaluate.
data where it's like, what are we really doing here, other than like you said, driving up the cost? Like, what do we do?
Yeah, I mean, if the statute is designed to have attorneys burn hours, I'm not sure that that's entirely what we all want, right?
Oh, no, no
If you,
offense, but no one wants to pay more for
no,
attorney.
and even attorneys don't want to do or don't a lot of it don't want to do stuff that doesn't have some sort of material benefit to society, and so I would like to see some more objective uh, look at whether or not those are doing what they think that they should be doing.
I think a bunch of us would, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyhow, we could move that on to another discussion, but that'll be interesting to see if anything ever comes out of it, other than just 'cause companies are still going to make the profits they need to make. The people who are getting the loans are the ones that just have to pay for it, fortunately. So,
Yeah, and I've had, a lot of people say, come to me and we go through, for instance, California, not singling them out, just but they're the most difficult and that, thank you for meeting with me. We've decided that we're not going to do business in California for this reason. And and so, what's the impact on consumers about that? They have less choice. And, that's the flip side to that regulatory regime is that sometimes there's unintended effects to that.
yeah, sure. And I know you talked about NEFA and ELFA. So let's just stay on them if you don't mind, Dennis. And
Yeah, absolutely.
kind of what I'm sure our paths probably first crossed at a EAEL event back in the day.
Probably.
So,
Right.
so, I just want to talk about those associations and kind of what they've meant to your career. And I run to Ken at those every year as well. So, what have they meant to the firm as well, sir?
They mean a lot. It's a way for us to connect with people on a marketing side. Being a commercial lawyer, you don't have your name on a billboard, thank God. And
I mean, you could start a new trend. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
uh, yeah. I was out in Albuquerque, and there's some law firm called Tiger Law, and then the next billboard was something of equally silliness.
Sorry.
But no, luckily we don't have to do that. And part of that reason is those trade associations, and that you can focus on business. You don't have to waste time on that kind of what I call silliness. You talk to people, you find out what's going on in their world and how you can assist them. And so the trade organizations have been very important to Ken and I and the rest of the firm since its beginning. And we've developed many lifelong friendships, after this many decades. Um, it feels a bit like family a little bit. And then I love that, with the AACFB, NEFA, Alpha, they all kind of have a different slice of what the equipment financing world is. And every play plays a pretty important role. You can't do it without originators. Originators can't necessarily do it without brokers. You got to have your warehouse lenders and in there, and then at the kind of the more as you go up in dollar value, you got to have an ability to recycle those funds. Either you securitize them or syndicate them, and as my practice has grown, I do a lot more of that level of stuff, and that's what I think is super cool and exciting. We're gonna refinance X millions and millions of dollars. And what does that do? It just goes back into the system so that they can keep on. And ultimately, it's the uh, folks who run small businesses like mine that need equipment. Small business, they can be up to 50, 100, whatever. But that's where a lot of the money goes to, and helping. And what do those business owners do with it? They support their community, their churches. They send their kids to school. They build their homes. It's sort of the foundation of what our society is built on that entrepreneurial spirit. And we're part of an organization that funds that. We make that possible. Yeah, there's certain level of deals, 1-2% usually. Sometimes, unfortunately, a little higher than that, depending on what credit box you're in. But most of the deals don't fail. And, as a consequence, most of the people who interact with the equipment financing world, are building their lives, building their families' lives. And I like being part of that. That makes me happy.
Perfect. And plus, it's not only there, you're meeting your clients, you're having coffee or a cocktail with another attorney. And while you might share clients, or they might, sometimes you might like even consider them a competition. You guys are still up against the same thing. And everyone shares, best practices, which is to me, unlike other industries.
Yeah, the attorneys have we have another aspect that the business people may not, in that we utilize each other as local counsels. And so there's a great deal of work being done by multiple attorneys, because the company might be in state A, the customer might be in B, the guarantor might be in C, the equipment might be in state D. And so having those relationships and building them through the organizations has been one of the key aspects of my firm's limited success. is being able to put the, you know, if we need somebody in state B, who do we have there? You know, and you call them up and, you know, you've known each other for 10 different years or 20 different years. Sure, let's, you know, we'll get this handled. And that level of coordination really benefits the clients because otherwise, you know, trying to hire somebody in state B, if you don't know them, can be a much more extended process. Let's run conflicts. We'll need a retainer. We need to know this. We need to know that, as opposed to, oh yeah, hey, hi Dennis, thanks for the call. Yeah, we'll get on it. You know, no conflict. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And
And then it's just reciprocation will just come out of
yeah,
it
yeah,
naturally. So
and
yeah.
that helps move those files. It helps protects the client's interest. It helps protect the collateral, and it's quite, you know, it's an understated objective of what the associations do, but it's really quite important for at least the legal world.
Yeah, I mean, the vetting process, I mean, it's never 100%, but it's pretty much 100% because if you've seen this person around, it's a really small but mighty industry, I guess I should say.
Mhm.
So if people have been around for a while, they have a good reputation. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. They show up
Right.
and spit them out. So yeah, I
And if
mean,
you
it
can,
satisfies your clients' needs faster and great.
yeah, if you can, you know, move a legal problem based on trusted counsel, uh, that's a really important objective to be able to meet, to be able to do these things as quickly as need to be done.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. I echo your sentiments on those two associations, and forgot to mention AACFB. They all have their different role within within the life cycle of transactions, I guess I should say, and they foster the environment for good networking, which is great. It's not great after these next couple months though, when you're always on the road. But
Yeah, the spring and fall can be a little bit of a
just
challenge for all of us who are on the concert tour, right? Or the
yeah,
conference
I feel like a roadie afterwards, so we can just go with the concert tour.
tour. For
Uh,
sure.
yeah, so I just want to have a quick conversation on equipment finance cares. Law firm Dressler and Peters recently became an annual sponsor. Thank you very much. Just kind of wanted to talk about that associate, I guess, the charity, and kind of why you guys wanted to become a sponsor, Dennis.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the I touched on it a little bit earlier. The equipment finance industry, if you just look at, oh, you're financing equipment and you don't see all the good that we do and what we're doing and why we're doing it for. We're putting kids through school, we're building houses, we're, you know, contributing to our charitable and religious affiliations. Like it's an underpinning of our society, and I like being part of that. And in particular, I like where transferring some of those values and some of the money to these causes, I think really stands out in terms of making a difference in our community. And we wanted to be part of EFA Cares. You know, I've been aware of it, and of course, I've known you for many years, and just really respect that you've made it much more explicit in terms of how we help, you know, like and you've given a format as well as a way to contribute. And the organizations that you all sponsor are tremendous. And then bringing that, you know, giving back mentality has been really important. You know, sometimes people in just, you know, just personally in our firm is that sometimes some of the younger people or more staff type people, they don't see a bigger perspective of what we're doing or why. And I think EFA cares or EF cares is a great way to expose those younger folks to kind of the wider world of what this is all about. It's not necessarily all about just financing equipment. There's a bigger story to tell, and I think EF Cares helps tell that story.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the basis of it, right? We got to focus on our human capital that's taking care of our clients. And, you know, just really appreciate your guys' sponsorship. And I guess by the time this airs, the EF Cares Chicago one will have already happened. But looking forward to meeting some more people from the firm
Mhm.
up there, sir.
Yeah, and they're looking forward to this event, and just great trying to give them an opportunity, to have a larger exposure, find out what, we have, I don't know, sometimes you go to Alpha's annual and they have this economist say that, we're a 1 trillion or whatever $1 billion industry or whatever. But what does it mean to people, who are in your office? I don't think people have an ability to put that into a day-to-day practical kind of experience on what we do. And EF Cares translates that in a way that I think is just wonderful, and we're so proud to sponsor it.
Perfect, sir. Thank you for that. And I ask everyone who comes on the program to give me a little fun fact about themselves. So outside of your passion for law, what do you enjoy doing?
Well, I like playing the guitar. So
Okay.
classical guitar is
Uh,
with a Spanish focus. So yeah, my I was I started out as going to music school, and then my father, who's a professor, one day took me aside and he said, "You know what? You ought to have Plan B." Heard you play.
how are you gonna make money playing a guitar? Well, I mean, come on.
And so my
I,
plan
I
B
can see
was
that.
law. And but I've not lost the passion for playing, and I actually met my wife and through playing and everything. So it might be a fun fact about just pursuing that level of passion as you get, and then I feel like as I get older, my relationship to the instrument and to the music changes and gains additional depth, and very rewarding.
It's fantastic. How often do you get to play?
Well, I try to play daily, but you
Yeah.
know, um, and yeah,
All right. Well, we'll have to listen to that sometime.
most
Very.
most people don't like to listen to classical guitar,
Hey,
but
hey,
I love it.
hey, it doesn't matter what they think. It's your hobby, not theirs.
Right? And then of course you get the brothers play some Skinner. And it's like, well, I don't necessarily play that kind of music.
Like a Step Brothers line coming in here pretty soon. You don't play that type of Joel music, sir. Sorry. Yeah.
Uh,
And then my last question I have for you, Dennis, is why should someone in the industry want to do business with Dressler and Peters?
well, I think if you're interested in somebody who knows equipment financing law, has been doing it pretty much exclusively for going on 3 decades, then I'd love to talk with you.
Perfect, sir. And you hit on several key points today, and appreciate your mindset, appreciate your approach to business, and finally appreciate your time today, and looking forward to seeing you here next week.
And Jesse, we appreciate what you're doing, and I'm glad to be part of it, and think the world of you. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you, Dennis. Have a good day.